Hey everybody, welcome back to Cuddles the Rest. Today we're going to be diving into a unique topic, and that's going to be bases and the best base locations that you can possibly have inside Dune Awakening. And this is kind of like a three-part thing because what you want now is maybe not what you're going to want later on. And I'm going to be going through like the early game, like where to put your base, where to get the resources, and a little bit of nuances like that. And at the end, we'll put the end game bases and where I think people should put their bases, and what kind of nuances come with going to the deep desert every week. So with that said, let's go ahead and let's jump on into it. So one of the first base locations that you're going to be finding is in Haga Basin South. Now everybody has to make a base in Haga Basin South because it's part of the quest line, right? There's a home quest that is going to require you to disband a base inside Haga Basin South, and you can't actually be in the base or in the region to disband that base. You have to do it from the map, and you cannot be in Haga Basin South territory. So with that said, the best base location that you can possibly have is going to be right here, right outside of the Imperial Testing Station. The reason why is because you'll have access to the Imperial Testing Station where you can actually get free water. You can get all the bike components to make your first sand bike. You also have access to the Planetologist questline very early. It's a hop, skip, and a jump to the Trade Center where you'll be able to get a BP and also a quest line if you didn't start as a trooper. Okay, you put you right close to the access to PvP ship, so it puts you in the middle of both. It's one of the best locations that you can have in Haga Basin South. And once you've had your sand bike, you can actually just leave here, go up into the next region, all right, disband the base, and then you're off to the races. So now we're going to be looking at where should you build after your Haga Basin base south. Okay, so here's where it gets a little spicy, and people might disagree with this take on this, which is completely fine. Everybody has their own opinion. And before, I would definitely say that before they made all these new changes to the Haga Basin with the flower sand and everything else, like the best base location probably was right here. Okay, it had a lot of iron. You were very quick to get to water, right? You had access to aluminum. You had access to cobalt paste by going up this direction. And it really was a great location to be because you also had flower sand here. You had flower sand right over here where it was easy to harvest, easy to get, super great location. Even now, it's still not a bad location, but not a location that I would actually suggest a new player starting the game right now actually build. Because I'm going to actually tell you one of the best base locations inside this next region. And I will give you my reasons why in just a second. So my personal opinion, right, is your best base location is going to be right here. Now, the reason why I say this is because you have access to a PvP ship. 1. 2, they did not nerf the flowers that were right here. That is unbuildable area right here. All these flowers still remain and provide a lot of water, and cobalt paste, which you will need later on in the game, will be found right here. There's a cave that runs through here. You'll be able to take this loop, right, and get enough cobalt paste to even rival some of the people in Endgame before you even get really started. Also, the best place to get flower sand is actually down here next to Imperial's Testing Site 10, okay, where you can also find a buggy, okay? The reason why I say this is one of the best base locations to build right now is 1, you get access to water super early, which is probably the biggest hindrance that players have starting out the game, right? Before, we had access to water over here, and there was a lot of flowers over here. But since they've removed those flowers, it's not optimal to be sitting right here anymore, okay? So my personal recommendation is you build over here. Now, I'm not saying build an advanced subfeed console here. I'm talking about you build a standard subfeed console, okay? This is an outpost, all right? The quest that you're going to be getting for removing the Haga Basin South base is going to allow you to build the advanced subfeed console. My recommendation is you build one, you take it down, you put a standard one down because you don't want to be paying taxes yet. You don't want to be interacting with the endgame systems just yet. Build this base. Go over here. You can grab a buggy for free. It's a scrap buggy, but it will allow you to start building your base, start building some of that stuff. And once you have your sand bike, it's an easy jump to get right here to get flower sand. This is going to be the one of the holdups that you're going to have. And this location right here is super easy. Okay. So that's the reason why I will tell people to build here 110% of the time instead of building over here anymore. Don't do it. Don't come over here. It's not worth the time because you'll still have to be traveling all the way down and over here to get flower sand in any mass quantities. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get flower sand in the open desert, but it's going to take a lot of time and also potentially getting eaten by a worm to get that flower sand. So that's the reason why I say hold off on it. Just wait. Okay. So build your base there and thank me later. With that said, let's go ahead. Let's jump off into the next area. Okay, so now that we're moving into the mid game, maybe you're done with that base down there. You're into making ornithopters. You need aluminum in mass amounts. Okay, aluminum is going to be found in the eastern shield wall and the western shield wall areas. So that's where we're going to really need to stay focused. But if you want an ornithopter, you're still going to go down here to Mesa Terrell to be able to farm up those materials to build your first ornithopter. Now, depending on the server that you start in, you might be able to negate some of that, but I'm just trying to do this for anybody that doesn't have that ability or, have them people on your server that actually want to help you out. So one of the things that I actually build, like where I build my base, is actually right here on the shield wall. Okay. The reason why I build my base here is there's access to a cave right here. There's access to a PvP ship here. But is it the best base location? No, it is definitely not. It takes me too long to get to the edge of the map, no matter which way I go. It's too far. Okay. So this is the reason why I'm going to tell you, don't like me. I like it because it puts me in a nice spot. It overhangs the terrain. It showcases the Haga Basin and everything that it's about. It's really nice. Like I personally like it. But that's the reason why I go there. Now, one of the other things, another reason why I like it is because it has some of the best ore deposits for aluminum right around this region. Not to mention the Landsraad turn-in is right there as well. Okay. If you're a tradies. Okay. Now that is going to vary if you're going to be, Harkonnen, it's on the opposite side of the map. So, make this base as you wish. All right. But one of the best base locations that you can possibly have inside the shield wall is actually going to be down here. Now, one of the reasons why I say down here, and I'm giving you guys kind of a long line here. Okay. One, there's a PvP ship right here. There's another one over here. Those are the Atreides buildings. So this line right here will represent where you come in from the world map. Okay. So whenever you're coming back from the deep desert, from Arakeen or anything like that, you want to make sure that when you zone in to the map, your base is going to be located right about there. Now, this varies depending on your base location and what you want to do and what the base is actually for. There's a lot of guilds out there, depending on, your size and the scope of the base that you guys want to build together. Or if you're just running the solo, I would definitely be looking at leaving the world map, coming in, and then picking a base location based on where you spawn in at. Because you don't want to be traveling 10 minutes to get to your base. Or 20 minutes to get to your base. Or whatever it takes. Like, you don't want to be flying all the way down here to get to a base just because where you zoned in at. So this is one of the reasons why I'm saying don't do it. Okay. Best base location up here is going to be where you zone in. So to make the trips faster from the deep desert back and forth. Now you're like, well, there's still duraluminum. Yes, there is. We still have one extra tier, but my suggestion is that if you start building a base in this region, go ahead. You can start, build your advanced sub-V console, start building your base. This is about where I would want to be if I didn't already have my spot up here. Okay. Because a lot of these spots have already been claimed and taken by people that are in the end game, like super end game, where legitimately we're putting up bases just to house like certain things. and we'll get into that in just a second. So one of the best base locations that you can have, like I said, zone in, put your base down. That's going to be your best base location. So with that said, let's go ahead and let's move into Sheol, and I will give you my rundown of where the best base location is in Sheol, because you will need to do that to start getting duraluminum. And you're going to need a lot of that too, because once you start getting into aluminum and then you duraluminum, you're going to need a lot of both of these equipments before you start reaching into the deep desert too much. Okay, so let's just jump on. All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about Sheol here for a second. Now, Sheol is one of those unique scenarios because it's going to be heavily radiated, so you're going to need a rad suit before you can actually start adventuring here and getting jasminium as much as you possibly can. Okay, and you're going to need quite a bit of it because it's going to house a lot of the higher level synths that you're going to have to do and craftings. But with that said, there are the best base locations that you can possibly have here. Now, my personal opinion, all right, you're going to be able to spawn in here. Okay, right here is where your spawn is. Okay, I personally build a base right here on this little island. Okay, that will house my buggy. This base is normally a jump base that me and Mrs. Cuddles used to jump in and out of the deep desert to drop off our stuff back and forth. Okay, so that's one of the best base locations that I can possibly tell you to be at, because it does one of two things, right? You put you right next to a PvP ship. All right, you see kind of the method that I'm going with. You have access to a lot of the high level blueprints right from that ship alone. Okay, once you're have your buggy down here, all right, and you're flying jasminium back and forth, it's easy. You hit the world map, right? You go out to the world map, you zone in on your other base. You know, if you built your base like about where I told you, you can zone in, drop off all your stuff, come back out. Now, I know it does take a couple of loading screens, and you're like, oh, well, why don't I just fly it? Take the loading screen because it's actually going to be faster than flying it back to your base. Now, that's the reason why I said that you want to make sure that your base is like right next to the wall, like right when you zone in. So then that way you have the ability to say, okay, this is where I want my base to be. It's going to be easier to transport the goods back and forth. Okay. But it also allows you to go ahead and say flower sand, you zone in on there, right? You can just zone into the other side because you have an ornithopter. You're ready for that. Okay. It's not too far for you. But once you have this base set, okay, what we do is we power it. We leave it with a buggy and a pentashield. And this is the only, like, come down here and make a couple of trips, this, that, and the other. But if you're new, some of the things that you can actually do is once you build your base here, there's actually a cave right here that houses a blueprint. You fight no enemies. It has nothing else in it. And it's super easy to get. You come here, there's blueprints, there's materials. It's a standard cave, okay? Those are the best base locations that you can possibly have starting out and moving forward. And a good spot to say, okay, yes, that's where I'm going to be. So now, probably what most of you guys are here for is where's the best end game spot to build? Where do I want to build my base, my last base, whatever have you, right? So let me jump into it. Let me tell you. Okay. So we have the three bases that I pretty much told you guys to build, right? The three best base locations that I personally believe in is one right down here to start, like your starter base. Just to give a little recap, because you're close to pretty much everything, right? You want to be close to the flower sand. You don't really care that much, about anything else. There's a lot of water available. Then you move into the shield wall right next to the entry point. And then down here for Sheol, also right next to an entry point. Now, one of the things that we also want to talk about when we're talking about endgame and where do we want our endgame base to be. And this is when it's really going to come into play what you want to do. Like, what is this base going to be used for? Is this going to be your main permanent base? Is this a guild base potentially? And also, are you guys doing the Landsraad? Because that's also going to determine where you guys want your base to build. Like, where you want your final base to be, because you're going to need to be doing turn-ins and stuff like this for the Landsraad. Now, I know that they're coming out with a new system, and which makes me kind of hesitant to tell people about this, like these things, because they will be more contract based. So I don't quite know what the Landsraad's going to hold, but when that stuff comes out, I'll keep everybody apprised, and maybe in the pinned comment, I'll write something. But so in the end, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to have easy access to the deep desert? Are you guys doing Landsraad turn-ins? Because if you're doing Landsraad turn-ins, your best actual base locations will vary. All right. If you're a Trades, your best base locations will be right here along this ridge. Now, and that's if you can find one. Okay. Right around this ridge is probably some of the best base locations that you can have to essentially for the Landsraad turn-in, because the Trades is right there. Now, if you're Harkonnen, this is where it varies a little bit. Okay. Your best base location is actually probably right here. Okay. Also followed by like right here and then right here. The reason why I say that is because the Harkonnen base actually has like this like weird little blockage that stops you from getting like real close to it. There's like a couple of like little pieces that you have to like navigate through to get through it. But so these are the best base locations that you can have. One, it's because it gets you right in from the area map. So the world map, it puts you right there. Okay. It's probably one of the fastest bases to get to as like a Harkonnen to get Landsraad turn-ins, because of how close it is to the actual like entry point. It is kind of crazy because the entry point is actually like right here, if I'm remembering correctly. So then you can just jump right into your base. But that's something you guys might want to consider when you're looking at a Harkonnen base. Now, if you're looking at a Trades base, your best bet is to be up here. Now, it will take you some time from the deep desert to get to that base, but it is probably one of the better bases that you can actually have for Landsraad turn-ins. Okay, so with the Landsraad turn-ins out of the way, we also want to talk about the deep desert. Now, the deep desert will require you to build a base out there every single week. So whatever you bring out there is stuff that you're going to have to bring back. All right. That's the reason why I'm pretty much telling everybody to build one base right next to where you jump in and out of. So then that way it's easier, because I can tell you right now, transporting goods in and out of the deep desert is probably the painstaking dilemma of this game. And it's mind-boggling that we don't have the vehicle like harness thing available to us yet, which is gonna change how a lot of this stuff is gonna be done. And the fact that we're gonna be able to harness vehicles, there's gonna be a storage container that they're adding, so it's really gonna put into emphasis about where your base is gonna be in the end game and what is it gonna look like. So do keep that in mind when you're looking at bases, and also making sure that you have all your sub-fee consoles accounted for, because your sub-fee consoles, they do have limits. Okay. Your advanced sub-fee console, you can have 3 of 3, but your the tax-free ones, the standard sub-fee consoles, you can only have 2 of those. So you can have 2 of those in one advanced sub-fee console, or you can have 3 advanced sub-fee consoles. So it's really up to you how you want to use those. Like I said, if anything, like I have the one in Sheol, okay, and I have my base up here, and I build a deep desert base every single week. So that's the reason why I have my bases where I have mine. But don't let that stop you. Go ahead, try out other locations. Let me know in the comments below what you think's the best location, and also maybe we can get a conversation started, and hopefully we can get some of this like hashed out. But with that said, please do like, subscribe, hit that bell if you want to know more. And I will see you guys in Arrakis. And stay thirsty, my friends.